So it looks like Greater Vancouver is on pace for the lowest amount of home sales of the century. In this week's video, we are going to look at November sales data. I'm also going to touch specifically on detached homes in Vancouver and Burnaby, and then some advice for sellers as we move into 2026. Real quick before we get started though, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hasan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. When I'm not making videos like this, I'm helping people just like you buy and sell real estate across the Lower Mainland. So if that sounds interesting to you, you want to chat with me one-on-one about your real estate situation, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below or on screen, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future video. All right, lots to cover. We're going to jump right into it. Lowest sales volume of the century. It's looking like that's going to be the case. This is coming from an article by Justin McElroy. I believe it was in CBC. I'm going to touch on some of the points that he brings up in the article, but specifically we're going to talk about sales volume, sales data, and if we look at November sales data on the Greater Vancouver side, volume down about 15%, on the Fraser Valley side about 17%. If you've been following my channel for a bit, I had mentioned a couple times that November 2024 sales were quite high compared to what we've seen over the last few years. We were kind of going through a bit of a ramp up period with rates finally being cut. There was actually optimism in the market. 2024 compared to 2023, I believe we were up in the 30 percentile. So, there was no way that we were going to match that number this year. And so down 15%, somewhat as expected. Now, looking at the total annual sales volume for Greater Vancouver, right now we're at around 22,000 sales for the year. We would have to have a massive December to not, win the title of having the slowest amount of sales since the year 2000, essentially. So it has been a slow year. There's no, you make no bones about it. It's been a very slow year for activity on the pricing side. Prices continue to come down. So we're looking at, again, Greater Vancouver, anywhere from 4 to 5.5%, 6%, depending on the property type. And that's when we're comparing year over year. I wanted to, specifically in this video, touch a little bit on detached homes. We talk a lot about condos on this channel. And it's interesting, when the market started slowing down, a big bulk of that slowdown was in the condo segment because we saw so much new inventory on the market, so many vacant condos, and detached, like especially that entry-level detached home. So when I say entry-level, at the lower end of the price bracket, of course, has a suite in it, a mortgage helper, so that more people can upsize into it, helps with affordability. That was a product type, especially in Vancouver, Vancouver East specifically, and Burnaby, that was just, it kept chugging along. It was doing quite well. It was doing okay, I should say, compared to the rest of the market. And where we were really seeing the pain were in the condos. Now, when we look at Vancouver East detached and we look at Burnaby detached and November numbers, one of the pieces of data that us realtors like to look at is sales to active ratio. How many homes are selling versus every 100 that would be available. So both those areas, Vancouver East detached, Burnaby, 9% sales to active ratios. This falls well within buyer's market territory. And typically these two areas for detached homes tends to be a little bit stronger versus other areas over the last year or so. We see low sales to active ratios in higher priced areas. West Vancouver, we see it in Richmond. They have lower on the detached side, lower sales to active ratios. But typically Vancouver East especially has kind of been that area where we'd see just more sales, and to dip below 10%, it really shows the state of that detached home market. Now, one of the stats packages I subscribe to, it's called Snap Stats, and basically I get these advanced stats that show me all of the price breakdowns, all of the different neighborhoods, and so I'm able to look at what's happening on a price band and a neighborhood level that's causing this low amount of sales. And what we see in East Vancouver is there is just a glut of inventory between 1.75. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I don't want to mess this up, but there's a glut of inventory between 1.75 million and 2 million available units on the market. And those are not moving, very slow to move. But as soon as you look at the price band below that, as soon as you dip below 1.75 in East Vancouver, you start to see some movement. You're now more into a balanced market. Now, this exact same thing is a little bit more pronounced in Burnaby. Same price bands. You have a glut of inventory between 1.75 and 2 million. And when you drop below that 1.75, you really start to see sales pick up. In fact, it jumps into a seller's market for 1.75 and below. So, we talked a lot about this year about how sellers are holding on to unrealistic prices, and they're not really prices of today. What I've noticed and other agents have noticed over the last few weeks is more and more sellers are coming to grips with the reality of what the market is going to give them for their property today. There's more and more sellers that are finally seeing motivation to move on, and motivation from a seller results in market price. And the reality is, that next sale, that person, that seller that's willing to sell at today's rate, the most motivated seller on the block essentially is setting the market. It's setting the market rate. Whoever's most motivated, that is going to set the market. And so when we look at 2026, for example, we're heading into the new year. What does that tell you as a seller? There's two things. And each year I talk about one thing specifically is, as we get towards the end of the year, you find a lot of sellers, whether they're currently already on the market or they're thinking of going on the market. Many folks are saying, you know what, we're going to push it out. We're going to wait until spring. And so you have a lot of sellers that are saying, you know what, we're not listing early. We'll come on in the spring. And so that's going to affect the inventory levels at springtime. And you got to hope, if you're a seller, that you're going to have enough buyers to basically offset the amount of listings that are going to pop up. Now, one of the things to consider as a seller is historically December 31st, and I say this once a year. I think I said it last year around this time as well. Historically, December 31st is one of the biggest days for listings to drop off the market. Because when we're doing listing agreements, very often we do it till the end of the year. Sometimes we go beyond that. We may have reasons, whatever it is, but very often it's like we're listing this till the end of the year. And so on January 1st, when we all wake up, there will be less listings on the market. Now, a chunk of these are going to renew almost immediately. And so when I talk about these listings, if you're wondering why I'm doing it, that's your competition, right? As a seller, these listings are your competition. So if you have a chunk of them drop off January 1st, you're going to have some relight up immediately. They're going to keep going. But you're going to have a lot of these sellers saying, you know what, I need a break. It's not the time right now. I've just tried selling for 6 months. It's not happening. Let's just wait till spring. Let's give it a couple months. Let's, freshen up the place. Let's do the little things we need to do. Let's take the feedback that's been given to us and get our property more prepared. And as a seller, I think you can make significant progress. You can do well for yourself if you jump out the gate in January to have your home listed and kind of beat the spring. I think it was last video where I talked about how the seasonality of real estate, it still exists, but ever since the pandemic, it's so different now. It's not so cut and dry that spring is so incredibly busy and summer is completely dead and December is completely dead. There's a lot of us agents right now that are working our tail off as we enter December, and it's not very typical. So it's very tough to try and bank on the seasonality. Really, what you want to do as a seller is two things. You want to, make sure that you're getting on the market, at a good time when there's less competition. Now, total inventory, we're still at record levels of total inventory. New listings have dropped off year over year. So that's one area where we've seen things decline, I guess, in a positive way if you are a seller. But that's number one, is you want to get on at the right time and consider that January may be that right time. And then you have to get on at the right price. You have to get on at the right price. We've been talking on my channel all year about the price declines that are happening. And the last thing you want to do is, if your agent, your trusted agent, tells you that, this is market value on a property, do not price 1%, 2%, 3% above that price. If that price is 800, don't say we're going to try 828. Don't even say we're going to try 818. You have to price at market, or actually just below market value. And this is why you really have to trust your realtor, that they know what's going on with the data and with the numbers. Because if you price high, you're going to continue to chase the market down. Most people in the industry still expect further price declines pretty much across all product types. So if you want to take the risk, yeah, you can price a little bit above what your realtor is suggesting you to do. And hey, put your realtor on the spot. Say, show me the data. Show me why I should be listing at this price. Don't take anyone's word for it, but allow them to show you the data. And if it makes sense to you as well, do not go above that price. I saw so many listings, so many properties this last year just chase the market down, chase, and just end up selling it for less than they could have had they had effective pricing to begin with. So that's my tips for sellers in terms of what's going to happen as we close out December. Again, very likely to be the slowest sales year of the century. Fraser Valley, it's a very similar story over there. In fact, more price declines since the peak in 2022, 20%, even above that. So significant price declines over there. Much lesser on the greater Vancouver side, but still happening. We'll continue to monitor this as we go into 2026. But thank you so much for watching this video. And again, if you want to chat real estate with me, just book me for a free call, or just give me a call, send me a text. My contact info is below. But I want to thank you so much for watching this week's video, and I look forward to seeing you next week.